What are we doing today? So this call is titled Frameworks for Growth, Creating a Studio Map. You might have a lot of questions about this, like why mapping? What's that going to do for you? Why am I hosting this call? Um, it's really about, as a studio lead, part of it is being an expert in the design process, and part of it is being being a leader and having a really strong understanding of the systems and the structures that create your studio and help it run. And you want to have that understanding so that with each year and with each term, you're able to make slow and steady improvements so that maybe in 5 years you have a really bustling, really strong like studio dynamic with your members, and you're pumping out really amazing projects that are impacting the community. But it's not going to happen all at once. It's going to happen sort of step by step. And there's only so much time you have to give as a college student with a lot of things to juggle to your DFA studio. And so what we're going to be doing today, if everyone can see my screen, first of all, can I get some nods? Yes, that you can see my screen. Perfect. All right, so we will be using this mural website platform to create a studio map for each of your studios. And the purpose of this is so that you can see visually all of the like components and the systems that go into your DFA studio, so that you can see the relationships between them, which like people are interacting with which other people, and with that sort of like mapped out, you'll have a foundational understanding of what's going on and be able to use that to determine what your next goals are. Or you might be able to more clearly note like what parts are really lacking in your studio and what you might want to work on next. And so I'm just going to quickly run over these instructions, and as you're watching, you can see my mouse hover over different tools, just to make sure that everyone knows how this tool works. And then you'll be opening this up on your desktop and working through that. So first of all, there is an instruction here. This essentially is a infinite like zoomable map. So you can see I'm scrolling around, and if I zoom out more, you'll see a bunch of pre-populated workspaces. There's a word bank on the left, and this is what you'll be starting with. And so I'll go back to the instructions. The first step is to start with a blue, so that is a core studio system. You'll see that those are pre-populated in the word bank. The first step is to drag some of those out onto your workspace, as you see fit, as like in terms of like what is at your studio, then put it there. If it's not there, then just leave it in the word bank. And then start fleshing out the different components that make up this system. So for example, here on the bottom, I have project teams. And at RISD and Brown, we had team leads, team members, and we did some team dynamics activities to sort of like make up project teams. So what I'm asking you to do is pull out some core studio systems and then flesh out what like a few components that make up each system. And once you have these little clusters, then you can start drawing arrows. So you can see on this left toolbar here, there's a shapes and connectors button, and you can drag out an arrow and make it connect things. Some other things that I want to point out. There's a gray section here that says things to consider. These are just words that you can think about as you're doing your map. And lastly, this purple section on the bottom, it's just an area on your board for you to put parts or pieces that you really have no idea where they fit on your map, or words, stickies that you don't know what they exactly mean. So if you're not sure about them, put them in this corner. Let's see, any questions so far about like how to use this? All right. If not, then if you're in the notes doc, there is a mural link at the top of the page and also one in the agenda. So click on that. You'll probably jump in as a anonymous giraffe or something, and you should have edit access. So one last thing that I want to show is in the top left corner of your screen. There should be a little thing, an outline, and that's where you can sort of jump to your studio map. So UIC has a studio map, Fordham has a studio map, Elon also. So just jump to your map and start dragging things around and typing and adding more content. Cool? All right, I'm gonna stop my screen share. Actually, I'll keep screen sharing, but you guys can go ahead, jump into the mural uh, platform, and let me know if you have any questions about it if you're not able to get in. All right, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Time's up. Thank you everyone for doing that little work session. I know it's a little quiet. I'm sure you have your own music on. Um, So cool. I've already learned so much from looking at the maps that you've made. Fordham, I think you have a very methodological way of thinking about it in terms of internal and external functions, and then the sort of like responsibilities and buckets that each person sort of holds. UIC, I can see, well, the first thing that stands out is you have a huge bucket for mentors and funding sources, and that sort of connects to everything else, to projects and then community partners. I like how you use the things to consider to add a little bit more about your studio. And Amy, lovely, lovely map filled with where every single thing is connected. I love that. How about we have UIC share some about your map? So one of you or both of you together can just walk us through your thought process as you were making this and talk about maybe like why you did what you did.
Okay, I think, well, we kind of were doing it simultaneously,
Yes.
because there's two
Yeah,
of
because you're
us.
both in the same
So
studio.
yeah, so it was interesting, kind of piecing it together like as we went. There were some things that I knew added or moved that I was like, oh, that's like a very good connection and like a good way to put it together. So I can't speak for the entire map because we did collaborate on it. But
Mhm.
I know I started off with like the mentor section.
Mhm.
Our mentors have been very helpful and very important to like how we have been organizing and working as a studio so far. So we have like an advising board, which is why we have this whole section. So we have a lot of different faculty mentors contributing to these different parts. So that's kind of where I started thinking about that. And then as we went, everything kind of breaks down really based on like the project that kind of, I would say, like drives how um, all these components kind of break up and how we utilize them within our studio.
Mhm.
Anna, you can go ahead and
Yeah, I mean, I think Manuela kind of summed it up really nicely, but a couple things I guess I added were a couple comments. I said that our mentors are really useful, especially because I feel like when you're doing a project, you're so invested into it and you kind of have like tunnel visual almost tunnel vision. So sometimes
Yeah.
like having somebody like a mentor really gives you, oh, like we were so invested in this, we didn't look at it from this perspective. And that's kind of like a comment I left. And then things to consider, which I think is really important, was studio culture. Um, I guess it's kind of like even if you think about company, like happy people work together better, and it maybe like every single time we come in, we have like a little breakdown of like how's everyone's day been going, how's everyone's week been going, what's positive, negatives, things you're looking forward to. So I think those simple things are we on Halloween we had like a little we watched like a little movie to kind of break the monotony of like doing like getting to design process every single week or like different parts of the design process. So I think that really helped for our studio in particular.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think, especially for a new studio, the main focus is typically like getting down the design process and then getting out successful projects. Studio culture tends to come once you have those down, and it's great that you're already sort of like seeing the benefits of having a studio culture. It sounds like you guys do some sort of like team retrospective or like team check-ins. Is that at every studio meeting? Is it like a formal thing, or it's just a casual, like, how's everyone doing that you ask?
I guess it's a bit
Um,
more casual.
so we
It's a bit more casual for the team, but I think the board itself has, we have every board meeting a little check-in of like how's everyone's week been going, and that
Yeah,
really gives good perspective of like, okay, this week is really bad for someone, so we're not gonna like push a lot
right.
of stuff on that person.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
we
a
kind
really
of
good way.
noted it from.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, we just we base it off of like the rosebud thorn. That's kind of how we go about doing that a little bit
Hmm.
more formally. So we try to get to that.
Yeah, it's super useful for just like getting on the same page and also understanding that the people you're working with are human. We all have our good days and our bad days, and so the amount that we can bring to the table at any given day is different. And I guess that's part of like what it means to be an empathetic person or to practice empathy, is understanding who the people that you're working with, where they're coming from, and understanding their positions. So, super cool. Um, let's see. I'm gonna assume that no one else's mics are working.
Oh, wait,
But
can you
I'm
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I put on headphones, so we're good.
Okay, great. Who is speaking?
Caitlin
Oh, cool,
from
Caitlin.
Fordham.
Awesome. Would you like to do a walkthrough of your map?
Yeah, so I feel like the way like at Fordham, we have a pretty small team. I think we're like maybe 6 or 7 people. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing this, I think I was just sort of like you said, like I was thinking about the tasks that everybody does. So I broke it down that way. And I think we're pretty like democratic. So like
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to projects or like any major decisions like this, like me and stuff, like we always talk to the rest of the group, like the other members, and see if they would be happy with like what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like we want to make sure that people are like pretty involved throughout the way, along the way. Um, yeah, I mean, we also like kind of started the meeting, like we talked to everybody, see how everyone's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like casual, we just, and I think it's good for like team building, like getting to know each other and enjoying working with one another.
Yeah, for
So
sure. I see this big
yeah.
like loopy arrow connected to events. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
So, for next semester, we were like planning on doing more events just because
Mm-hmm.
Fordham isn't really a design school. We don't have like a really big design culture, and it's something that
Right.
we kind of want to bring to Fordham with DFA.
Mm-hmm.
So we're planning on hosting some workshops, hopefully to get more people interested, hopefully to get a more people with more diverse majors, because right now we have a lot of people who are the same major as me. So like, we
Right.
want to get people with many academic backgrounds as possible. And also just let them know that DFA is at Fordham and that it's a great thing, great opportunity, a really fun thing. And also we want to like work it into sort of the design curriculum and like help people who aren't as familiar with design thinking or like that sort of process,
Mm-hmm.
learn about it. So that's the plan for next semester. We'll see
Yeah,
how many things we can get planned. But
yeah, that sounds
yeah,
really exciting.
yeah.
Part of what I've seen as like the new launching coordinator for this year and next spring is just like there's this huge trend we're riding where a bunch of universities are now like realizing that design is really crucial as a skill set regardless of your major. It's crucial for business, it's crucial for being agile and being able to respond to user needs if you're creating a product or a service. Um, so if, well, I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, design is cool. You guys are cool. Your studios are great. If if Ralph is interested in connecting with some more like design people that are starting innovation, like design and innovation centers on their campus, I can send you, I can connect him and you all to some very cool mentors that I've met at UT Austin and also Williams College.
Okay.
It's cool because it's like all of these people are working on very similar things just across the country, and you
Mhm.
wouldn't really know about it unless you do like a really deep research dive, or if you're in the DFA network, because that's where we're all connected.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. Okay, so Amy, I would have loved to hear you explain your map. But maybe you can just type a little thing about how come you put the leadership advisor and design mentor in the I'm not sure. Um, let's see. Some other things that I can pull while you're typing, maybe. I like that you've put community professionals for critiques. That's cool. So it sounds like you're inviting both outside like professionals and also mentors to your critiques. Hmm. You also have an alumni association. Very cool. Let's see. And in your events, I can see coffee chats, um, relating to studio culture and social media. Uh, cool. Can you also type one block about your coffee chats? What's that all about? Oh, yay! So I'm gonna read while she's typing. She says, so we used to have coffee chats be opt-in, but this semester we have mandatory ones, and they went a lot better. Next semester we're brainstorming even more ways to engage studio members with each other rather than just team members. I think that's awesome. It shows that you're like building out much stronger studio culture and starting basically starting initiatives for more of that like cross-pollination of ideas where you're not just working with your individual project team but also talking to all of the other people in your DFA studio. Um, awesome. Okay, so I would love to get some feedback from um, UIC or Fordham, the three of you. What do you think of this mapping exercise? Was it useful? Did you already have a picture of what your studio looked like? And how might you use this in the future if it is useful at all?
I feel like if my studio had a more like complicated structure, with like more leads and like people who had a lot more like I guess more leadership roles,
Hmm.
um, I think it would be a really helpful way to sort of like map out and like see the whole big picture. But since my studio is like really small, I was like
Mm-hmm.
a little more lost. But
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting to see, I guess, like how the task like we delegate like how we delegate tasks and like interact, I guess, between inside DFA and outside of DFA.
Yeah, good to know. Um, Other thoughts?
Um, I think it was, I think it was really interesting, especially to see how other studios think about it and how they kind of organize it and break it down. Since we are starting out, we've been talking about that, and we like go through this where we kind of have this structure, and then we see how certain things like do and don't work. And so I think what we really hoped to see is like how other studios are kind of going about it to see. So this is
Mm-hmm.
really a really cool visual way to go about it. I was wondering if this is
Mm-hmm.
something that we're able to use like after this, or if this is just um like a tool that you guys have like for like this kind of purpose.
Yeah, yeah. So Mural itself is free for like most functions. It's very democratic. If you're thinking of using it with like many different people, they also have a free education account where you can have multiple like owners of documents and things like that. But for the basics, like I right now I'm using a free account, so um, I think it'll work for you. These maps itself, so I'm gonna save out these files after the call as a PDF just to document it. Um, but if you're interested in continuing working on something or like having this for the future, I do think that doing the studio map is going to be something we're going to make all of our studios do in next semester, so sometime at the end of January, as a way to set like a baseline understanding for everyone. And then we're thinking of using this also as a tool to help with leadership transitions as that's coming up. It's just like a visual way where you can show and hand off to your new leader to be like, hey, this is how we think about our studios. These are all the different parts that are related. These are the sort of like buckets that you might hold as a new studio leader. So that's like one of the ways that this would be useful. But also, if I think this might be something, it's definitely something that we're still testing, but it can also be a map that's revisited every term where maybe there's like a notes section for you to add notes about things that you tested. For example, Crew CIA's Amy's map, like they last year they had opt-in coffee chats, but this year they tested mandatory ones and it went really well. So that's something that future leaders would benefit from knowing, to know that there was this test session, sort of like to see if it would work better, and it did. So it would like having that information, especially for future leaders, once you've graduated and things like that, it's a good way to document what has actually gone on in your studio. And the other part of like why is that important? I know it might seem like sort of far away for the studios that have just launched. But with DFA, we've also seen some studios that appear to be growing and like becoming really strong and having a strong foundation, but with just a single like poor leadership transition. Some studios have basically had to relaunch because they lost all of that institutional knowledge. The new leaders didn't know what the heck they were doing. Um, so yeah, not to scare you at all, but the point I'm trying to get across is this is possibly a new tool that'll be used along with studio support, perhaps replacing some things. Um, so yeah, what a long-winded answer. The answer is yes, you can use these. All right, awesome.
Cool.
Let's see. We
Thank you.
have, yeah, no problem. We got a minute left. I would love if you can add some, let's do some like orange sticky notes, maybe like in the bottom right corner of your map, just to note like something that you liked, something that you wish, and something that you wonder either about this call or the mural tool or the studio map. Oh yeah, and to change color, you would right click your sticky note and there's like a little color icon. Sweet. Also, as you're doing the feedback, if you have any other questions that you wanted to ask about this, I'm here to answer them. And before you leave, good luck on finals if they're not done already. Have an excellent, excellent winter break. Get sleep, get rest, eat food.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.